All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. For first and foremost, before I get started, like always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to our apostles, our elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and teach from a sound doctrine. Peace, love, and salutation to Yakim out there doing the work with truth and sincerity. So, brothers, right, Allah down here at the JMS Virginia camp. Back with another lesson through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. The title of the lesson is America's Future Judgment. All right, we know via the scriptures, okay, the judgment of America is nuclear fire, but it's a thing called gradualism, the things that's going to lead up to that. First and foremost, all right, we're waiting for one of the last few prophecies, which consist of the mandatory of the MOTB system. But how is that MOTB system is going to be fully in effect? Okay, everything has to go digital. Okay, everything has to go digital, starting with your IDs, all right, the dollar, everything like that, in regards to digital, your payments, okay, how the way you pay your rent, your mortgage, grocery shopping, right, your taxes, everything must go digital, right? And what is that going to cause? Is basically going to flush the US dollar down, and it's going to bring an uprise to this digital currency. Okay, the CBDC, the central banking digital currency, the same way how they got rid of the gold, okay, and use the Federal Reserve note. It's the same thing. They're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve note and start with that digital currency. But I wanted to bring this out in regards to America's future judgment. This is on CNN News, right? Little article. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of bad, but essentially it says live updates. It says latest on Trump's presidency as White House pledges to move forward with massive China tariffs, right? And it says what we're covering: looming tariffs. President Donald Trump will impose at least 104% tariff on Chinese imports tomorrow after Beijing missed the White House deadline to stand down on retaliatory threat. The administration said as the U.S. moves to enact massive so-called reciprocal tariffs on several countries amid mounting fears of global recession. China said today it would fight to the end of the trade war and continue to stand up to Trump. So basically, they're not backing down. They're not, going for what Donald Trump is ordering them to do in regards to these tariffs. And look at the word tariff. And just get it real quick, if it allows me to. Let's open up another tab. The definition of a tariff. Basically, a tariff, it says a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. It says the reduction of a trade barriers and imports tariffs, a list of taxes on imports or exports, mainly British, a list of fixed charges made by a business, especially for the use of gas, electricity, or a mobile phone. And it says fix the price of something according to a tariff. So essentially, it's a tax on certain goods, okay, leaving and going out of a country. But essentially, in order for China to make money, because America is a big consumer. Okay, we're constantly buying product from these various different countries, getting it shipped in. So what Donald Trump essentially wants, he wants to send tariffs on these other countries that's importing these goods, so America can thrive and have more money because we're constantly spending money on these other countries and as far as the goods. And these other countries are not happy, with these tariffs because all it's going to bring is inflation. Okay, it's going to bring in regards to inflation, the prices of gas is going to go up, the price of the electricity bill, their taxes in their countries, and so on and so forth to keep up the payments of the tariffs that Donald Trump is pushing. So it says setback for administration and a blow to administration. A federal judge ruled today that the White House decision to punish the Associated Press by eliminating its access to Donald Trump events, the Oval Office, and Air Force One is unconstitutional. It says, I'm gonna just jump down. It says Trump's tariffs are set to go into effect in a few hours with China facing a massive levy. Here's the latest. Now let's look at the word levy, right? It says levy, it says impose a tax, fee, or fine, enlist someone for military service, impose or conscript. So they're imposing a tax. Basically, they force you got to pay this tax. You got to pay this fine. You reach the deadline of the tariffs that I have set or the certain price that I have set for these other countries, and you still haven't responded in anything. So essentially, hey, they're pissed off, on both sides of the party, right? So it says President Donald Trump will hit China with an additional 84%, right? Because essentially it was just 20% on the tariffs, but he did additionally of 84%. So he taxed it even higher, and that's a thing called with interest. Like let's say for instance, with your credit card, right? You may start off with a 14.99 interest rate if you miss a payment, right? But if you miss that payment, and let's say for instance you miss another payment on that deadline, or you don't pay it in full, or let's say you make the payment but the payment bounced back, they're going to add more interest on it. So now it's going to jump from 14.99 to 26.9, and that's all essentially what Donald Trump is doing with China. Okay, he's upping, that price for that tax. Okay, and all that's going to just cause is more conflict, right? So it says President Donald Trump will hit China with an additional 84% in levies across all imports. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said today that will mean all goods from the country will be subject to a tariff of at least 104%. It says, meantime, so-called reciprocal tariffs are also set to go into effect in about 60 other countries. The president has instructed his trade team to make tailor-made deals with leaders who want to negotiate. Leavitt said, "Here's the latest on tariffs. More tariffs on China. China was already set to see tariffs increase by 34% tomorrow, but President tacked on another 50% after Beijing didn't back off its promise to impose 34. Right. So essentially it was at 20, then it went up to 34, and they missed that deadline. So they added another 50, which added 84%. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 84%. Right. So it says after Beijing didn't back off its promise to impose 34% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods by noon today, China's Commerce Ministry said the country will fight to the end of the trade war and will continue to stand up to Trump. The Chinese embassy in Washington also called on the U.S. to withdraw the new tariffs. Other negotiations. It says the Trump administration is prioritizing negotiations with Japan and South Korea, according to the White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Trump said he had a great call with Korea's acting president, noting that they have the confines of a deal. Italian Prime Minister uh, Giorgia Meloni will meet with Trump next week, according to the personal familiar. Additionally, the European Union told the U.S. it is prepared to negotiate over buying more natural gas, the bloc's executive arm said, right? So let me see if it's a little bit more. I don't want to read this whole thing. Yeah, so essentially just raise the price on the tariff. So now everything is going to be more expensive if China wants to import goods or have any type of deals or trades, okay, with America, man. All right, and that's going to put a bad taste in China's mouth, and we ultimately know what's going to be the downfall of America being too greedy, and essentially making these draconian laws, man. All right, and that's why I want to get starting now. I want to get Isaiah uh chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Right. So woe unto them, meaning destruction. We know destruction is coming to Babylon the Great, and they have the power to write these decrees, to write off and say with these executive orders and so on and so forth, say, look, you got to pay this fine, and if you don't pay this fine, there's going to be consequences. And that's ultimately what Donald Trump chose: Zelensky, China, and I'm pretty sure all these other countries concerning NATO and so on and so forth, right? So with all these different decrees, man, hey, these countries or these allies, they're going to realize that they're getting a shitty part of the deal, which is going to cause them to turn against Babylon the Great. So on the next precept I want to get, let me see if I can find it, because I don't want to make this too long. Just go straight to the point. But let me see. Yeah, con. It's a lot on here, Salakia. Dang, it's so much in this chapter, Salakia. Let me see what I want. What I want. Okay, Con. Let me. I'm gonna just get this, and then we just jump around through the spirit. Um, this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 14. It says, "Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord." Right? And who is that her? Okay, that's speaking about the great whore of Babylon the Great. When you go to let me see, Revelation, Revelation chapter 17. Let me see. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, "And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying, unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." Right. And we know what the future judgment is, man. Okay. We just read in Jeremiah the 50th chapter, okay, all ye put an array against her that bendeth the bow. That bendeth the bow, and those arrows are likened unto what? The intercontinental ballistic missiles, or the ICBMs. Okay. And when John Revelator and Jeremiah, when he saw these visions, okay, he likened those nuclear missiles as unto arrows. Okay, because back at that ancient time, they weren't known as nuclear weapons. Okay, but we through the spirit, we can see the visions and break it down and show you. Okay, this is talking about nuclear missiles, because when you read Second Ezra 16 chapter, it speaks about how these arrows will shoot from one end of the earth to another. What arrows to do that? Okay, if it's not talking about the nuclear missiles, all right. So you got to have discernment. So it says, verse 2, it says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Right, the wine of her fornication. Okay, going into what? The different philosophies, the creeds that he said, the religion, the military, for everything that he has, Esau has basically grasped unto him, okay, throughout the ends of the earth. Okay, putting all his military bases and everything so they can follow out the laws of America. Everything is essentially mirrored after America. You got the downtowns, okay, you got the certain court systems and everything is mirrored after America, because these other allies or NATO, okay, is essentially vassal states to America. All right, they're in alliance with them, and America happens to be that great horde that sitteth upon all these other nations, the kings of these other nations. All right. So it says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and inhabitants of the earth that have been made drunk with the wine of the fornication." So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemies, and having seven heads and 10 horns. And that's essentially going into NATO and the EU. Okay, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay, and the European Union, which before I think it was the EEC, the Economic Economy Commerce, if I'm not mistaken, right? But I'm gonna jump down to verse 5. It says, "And upon her head was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." All right. So with that being said, Mystery Babylon is Babylon the Great. That's the mystery, aka America. All right. But I want to jump down to prove the point. You see, I think it's in 13. Oh yeah, Con. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 15. And he said unto me, "The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples, multitudes, and nations and tongues." Right. So that's a key indicator to let you know that this great beast, or this great whore, is sit amongst all these other nations, is in power. So they have the power to write up these terrors, to change, their trees and their deals that they made, just like how they did with the Native Americans. All right, with GAD and so on and so forth. They kept changing, okay, the treaties. They kept breaking all the, the what was it called? Salakia, having a brain for it, but damn, basically the treaties. They kept They kept having Gad sign off all these different treaties and so on and so forth, and they broke every treaty. Okay, they broke every deal that they made with the Native Americans, and that's essentially what they're doing to these other nations, which is going to cause these other nations to turn against Babylon the Great. Okay, because Babylon can't keep their word. All right, all they want to do is just take, take, take. All right, and that's going to be the fall of their destruction, man. Well, how a key point of how Rome fell was because they stretched themselves too thin. Okay, and that's what America is doing. They're stretching themselves too thin. They're getting into things they don't have no business getting into, right? They're constantly making threats about what they're going to do. This if you don't do that, they're the hammer of the whole earth, the big bully, the big bully on the block, right? So going back to Jeremiah, chapter 50, and in verse 14, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. We're speaking about America. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her. Right, all ye that bend the bow. When you read Joel, okay, the third chapter, it says, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, prepare for war. Let the weak say that I am strong. Why? Because not only okay are they the playing the level of the playing field has been leveled because they now have nuclear weapon capabilities, man. So now they're going to be able to shoot missiles at America, man. Okay, if they don't like what they're hearing, they don't like what's being happening and how they're being treated, best believe, hey, they're gonna turn against America, man. Thus saith the Lord, right? It says, for she have sinned against the Lord. Shout against her round about. She have given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of the Lord. Take vengeance upon her as she have done unto her. All right. And it says, cut off the sword from Babylon and him the hand of the sickle in the time of the harvest. For the fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn one to his people and they shall flee everyone to his own land. Yeah. Because essentially, man, when shit hit the fan, you're going to have a lot of people trying to back out of America, leave the country and so on and so forth, and go back because of the judgment that's going to come. All right. But what? Hey, it's going to be too late. Okay. America is that ultimate melting pot. The Lord got these spirits here in America, okay, for judgment. Okay, because they're about to get hit with that nuclear fire, man. All right. So all these tariffs, all these laws that they doing, the whole when they mandate that MOTB and these other countries don't like it, and they seeing how it's an effect on their society and so on and so forth, and this is just speculating, you know, when all these things start hit the fan, they're gonna realize, man, this America ain't what they said it out to be, concerning this deal and so on and so forth. And they're like, you know what, to hell with this, and they're gonna shoot them missiles, man, because the Lord is gonna put the spirit on them to do that. And the Lord has the control of the king's heart, as the scriptures say. All right. Let me see. One precept I want to get before I close out, because I mentioned, about the nuclear weapons and the judgment of America is Revelation chapter 9. And let me see. So I get bear with me. Nope, not Revelation 9. So the second address. Oh, okay, I found it. Okay, Salakia. Revelation let's see. This is Revelation chapter 6 and I'm gonna start at verse 12, and it says, and I behold, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as the sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And it says, and the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree cast of her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. All right. And that's speaking about, okay, the destruction of Babylon the Great going into those nuclear missiles, okay, hitting the ground. It's going to shake the earth to and fro like a junker, as the scriptures say. And then also speaks about, the scriptures go into like that mushroom cloud from the huge impact, okay, of those nukes hitting the earth, man. All right, those stars are those nuclear warheads, man. Okay, when you look at a video of a certain missile, it has a warhead at the end of it, and basically that warhead bursts up, and you have little other missiles that shoots out of that warhead, man. Okay, the scriptures liken it to 100,000 times thousand, man, which I believe the spirit is like 100 million missiles, man. So with that, hey, that's the judgment of Babylon. A great matter of fact, let's get another one, right? This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 17. It says, matter of fact, I'm gonna start at verse damn so much. This is Revelation chapter 18 in verse 9. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall beware her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Right, speaking about America being, belong to hell, the kings of the earth, the ones that had these treaties with America that made all this different money and so on and so, they're going to bewail her, man, because they're going to realize that, hey, man, their society is going to crumble because what was basically empowering their military, their society, and their economy was because of the trade and the commerce that they were getting from America, right? So it says, verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Right? So in 1 hour, this place is going to be destroyed, man. Turned to a whole lake of fire, man. All right, it's going to be brought to the dust. Okay, who knows how long that fire, the Lord may have that fire, burning, And it says, verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thyine wood, all manner of vessels of ivory, all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and of marble and of cinnamon and odor and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep, right? It says in beasts and sheep, and it says horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men, right? So it's just letting you know that, hey, America is a huge consuming place where a lot of these nations, all right, and different countries make money off of America, man, through the trade, okay? And it says, and the fruits of thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all the things which were dainty and goodly departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of the things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing and saying, alas, alas. Right? So, hey, this is going to be on a huge newscast through the satellites, the media. All these other countries are going to be looking at America being put on fire, man. They're gonna be like, wow, like, they're gonna be astonished, man, because not only is those nuclear missiles that the Lord is sending via these other nations, but He also sending those chariots, the Lord coming back with Michael, the archangel, and the elect. Okay, the Lord is about to bring judgment on America. It's gonna be a lot of death and a lot of destruction, man. Okay, and it's gonna be a great deliverance out of America as well with the elect, right? And it says, at last, saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and for pearls, for in 1 hour so rich, great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast their dust on their heads and cried and weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by the reason of costliness, for in 1 hour she made desolate. Right? Well, hey, this is the beauty of it. It says, verse 20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have avenged you on her, right? Because we're in captivity. We're not receiving no type of riches from this place, right? This place is surely polluted and defiled. There's none but abominations all throughout America, and this place was literally made to destroy the children of Israel, right? So it says, rejoice over thou her, thou heaven, because the kingdom of heaven is a people before it's a place, and it's speaking about the holy people, the Israelites, right? So it says, for the Most High have avenged you of her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. Right. And that all backs up Daniel the second chapter. All right. That great stone that was cut out from the mountains and smite the statue. All right. That's Yahweh Shai, okay, smiting this last kingdom before the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, man. And that is the future judgment of Babylon the Great. Nuclear missiles, man. And we're seeing World War III brewing up via these news, these tariffs, and so on and so forth, man. So, stay tuned, stay in the prophecy, okay, keep the faith, keep pushing, and so on and so forth, man. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachaha Kodash, and double honors to our apostles, our elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Shalom.